Hey everyone, welcome back to Tarqaron. It's just me this time because this is a video that, Alec, do not watch this. If you clicked on this video, get out of here because there's only one reason I'm doing this solo, and that's because Alec can't see this, alright? For a couple of reasons. Look, there's Survivor seasons in here. Hold on. Click it. If you haven't clicked away already, Alec, get out of here. Get out of here. There's Survivor seasons in here. So, of course, I want to talk with a little bit of detail in here that I don't want him to know because we're keeping him completely fresh as we go through Survivor for the first time. As well as some other shows which maybe not top of list to show him, but are always something like these kind of reality competition shows or something I'm trying to always keep in my back pocket just in case we have more opportunities to do stuff in the future, expand on things or whatever. And I would love to incorporate some new shows if ever possible. Obviously right now only enough room on the plate for Survivor, but that being said, there's also some Survivor elements that leaked into other shows as well. So I also want to be able to talk about those things as well. So just wanted to say this, I guess my first annual reality TV roundup, because I don't have much of a chance to talk about, of course, modern Survivor, but as well as these reality shows in general. I kind of, because I wanted to keep them hush-hush for Alec, I exempted our top 10 list of any reality shows. And because I knew I was going to do this video right here, and all goes as planned, I'll do one each year. And it's going to be a ranking. So I'm going to go from, I have 8 seasons of reality TV, of new seasons that came out throughout the year, that I'm going to rank from 8 to 1. And we're gonna talk about them, why they placed where they did, and the different elements involved. You can look at the timestamps if you want to see specific shows. I don't mind at all if you want to jump around, if you don't care about certain ones. But without further ado, let's get into it. At number 8, I've got Big Brother 25. Now maybe I'm being a little too harsh on this one, but I just can't get over the back half of this game. Almost certainly, objectively, I'm probably being too harsh. It probably should be at least up 1 or 2 more slots. But I really do want to punish it for how abysmally it ended. Abysmally. It went from one of the top tier seasons in terms of wow, amazing stuff going on. Watching live feed updates specifically, I knew how dense it was with things happening, back and forth votes up until the last minute. Almost every week, up until the jury or so, but then it got to a point where the game got exposed majorly for its flaws. Big Brother, key decisions that production made also tanked the season, and so I want to punish it heavily for that. The fact that it introduced this power for no reason. The season was going excellently. This power is introduced, and it's used to save Jag, who ultimately goes on to win. But this is something no one could anticipate. It's used to save Jag, and then arbitrarily we do this awful, abysmal, one of the worst twists I've ever seen in Big Brother, the zombie week, where just these random 2 people at the back half of the jury, Cameron and Jared, by the way, 2 of the least liked house guests the whole season, or the other 2 we also happen to get it on, they're going to get a chance to come back into the game. They're going to be stuck in the house with no vote happening for what was it felt like an eternity. They were in there just doing little pieces of things. Really slowed the season down big time, and ultimately got Cameron back in just to make the jury, I guess. I did not need more Cameron. I didn't appreciate how production edited Cameron to be this golden edit that literally got him the America's Favorite Player. It's ridiculous. So we had that. We had Jag coming back, being saved with that power. And then we had Cameron coming back for Zombie Week. All right. And now ultimately the biggest problem with the back half of the season is that we see now how big the disparity for competitions is, between certain types of players. if you're an older contestant, you're almost immediately not going to be able to win 9 out of 10 competitions. Just not, straight up. Even if there's a mental competition, more times than not, there seems to be a physical component to it that almost nullifies the mental part. Like, you can be way worse at the mental part, but make up for doing multiple laps, whatever it may be, with the physical aspect. And we saw Jag, who was by no means a comp beast. Like, we got out some of the comp beasts early on. We got Heisem out, we got Cameron out, and then we got him out again, only for like Jag to be, even Jared had been winning a little more than Jag, and Jag was kind of like fourth, fifth man in line, and just happened to be there when the dust settled. And it's like, okay, now I'm competing against women who have an unfair disadvantage in these challenges, it seems, as well as just older women, like namely Suri and Felicia, who, when they go into any given challenge, it's a coin flip whether it's even worth competing. Like, is this one I might as well sit out in because there's literally no chance? Is there one where if I did it perfectly, maybe I would have a slim chance? It's tough. But of course, some of the excellence of the season was brought by Suri Fields. I mean, Suri, I was so excited, and I was shocked by that first reveal on the first episode. That when we saw Suri, I was like, oh, she's like a special guest, but like, no, she's playing, she's in there. I'm like, what? She has no chance. And then immediately she's in the power. She's the power broker, like at the front and center of this alliance, this power alliance. And that was beautiful to watch unfold. And then we ultimately just have to watch her bleed out slowly for the back half of the season. Like, she did almost everything she could do. Obviously, she made some mistakes for sure, but she had such an uphill battle. She would have to do so much more than Matt and Jag had to do to get to the end. And of course, it just didn't work out. Yeah, that was just really painful to watch. It was painful to watch Jag just be an awful Big Brother player, based on what we've known of Big Brother being a social, strategic, and physical game, but mostly a social, strategic type game. He's awful at those aspects of the game, and then we see him win, steamroll, just by virtue of being the best physical competitor left in the room. Just built slightly better than most of the people is really what it comes down to. It's crazy. Even when there was an opportunity where he could have lost one, they gave him the opportunity to win back-to-back HOHs because of the damn invisible HOH, which they also butchered. Every twist they tried to put in the season, as is Big Brother tradition, completely bombed and actually did active damage to the season, which is horrible to see. We had people were talking about in the first half of the season. We were talking about, like, is this an all-timer? Is this going to be like one of the Pantheon Big Brother seasons? And no, quickly we figured out it's not, because now we're going down to Matt, Jag, and Bowie Jane as our final three. It's absolutely rough. Rough. I can imagine it's rough on a rewatch, going through the first half and knowing what's going to come, and then having to sit through that second half. Just, oof. It became insanely rough. It became a chore to watch the episodes, and that's horrible. For a season that shouldn't have done it, the people who are in charge of the season did everything to make it that as bad as it became, and for that reason, it's my number 8. Thank you for Suri for showing up at least, though. In my number 7, I have season 5 of The Circle. The reason I have it on the lower end is because The Circle as a series, we've enjoyed it. I always watch it with my mom, and it's just been our show. I don't know why this one randomly, but it's very much a Gen Z show, so it's kind of interesting. But we've always enjoyed it. But for me, it's always been like, first of all, it's less memorable when I think of it. Like a certain other show that'll come up later that was very early on this year, I can remember distinctly. But this season, I could barely remember certain people, and I was like, oh, that's that season. And then when I think of past seasons, it all is a blur to me, like the seasons of The Circle. And for me, when I go into a reality competition show like this, it's kind of surface level. There's not as much depth to it as other ones, where you can have like more. Like, I love the reveals at the end when they see each other, but it's just kind of weird how it's like we'll have like 1 or 2 conversations between certain people for a whole week, and how the game unfolds. We still have a lot of questions about how it even practically works with seemingly such limited interactions, how you can make meaningful alliances and whatnot. We're seeing more and more, there's a little more strategic depth being added to it, but it's still very much strategic light. Ultimately, like with how the winners decided, it's kind of like it becomes a coin flip at the end. Like, who's going to get it? I don't know. It just depends on this ranking, and people have all their different arbitrary reasons for ranking each other. But the Circle is interesting as one of those, like, definitely, like, modernized reality competition shows. Like, it's very social media oriented. It's got its own vibe for sure, which is definitely in its own lane, separate for these other ones. But when I go to watch The Circle, it's kind of like more there for the entertainment than like the week by week strategy, theory crafting and talking it through. But all in all, it's still a fun time, just not as substantial and significant to me as some of these other shows later in the list. For number 6, I have Survivor 44. Now, Survivor 44 was, if you watch the season, if you're a Survivor fan and you're watching this portion, whatever it may be, you obviously know you're up to date with the new era and how it's been going. It felt very new era to me, which was my biggest problem, like all these different twists and things happening all the time this season. The horrible split up tribal council that got Matt sent home. And just generally, I feel like the cast is a little on the weaker end. But of course, what people talk about a lot from the season, which was a great boon and boost for the season, is the Tika. Was it the Tika 3? Yeah, the Tika 3 with Carson, Carolyn, and Jam Jam. Excellent television. It's awesome to see. It's like maybe a turning point for Survivor where it's like we have a solid alliance riding it out to the end, essentially. But again, even when we came down to it, like Heidi getting in there and kind of mucking it up, like she does this thing and becomes like our second place, one vote second placer. Kind of unsatisfying end there. It would have been cool, and it also draws attention to the fire making challenge and how I really don't like that as an element of the game that we're like stuck with now seemingly. And it would have been much more satisfying to see the Tika 3 have to turn on each other at some point, you know. This would have been an excellent season of a final 2 and to see how that would shake up. Honestly, that's all. But Jam Jam was a great winner. A lot of fun to watch. Just overall, this Survivor season is not going to be a big standout for me, I don't think. I think I would put... A lot of people were putting this like the top 2 of the new era even, which is only 5 seasons at this point. But I think I would probably put it maybe bottom or second to bottom for me. It's just not a strong season overall aside from the Tika element of it all. If we didn't have great characters like Carolyn, it really would have suffered for me. But it was manageable because of that. I just really don't like the new era-ness of it. I think Survivor really needs some changes to be made significantly. It seems like they don't understand their game at some aspects. We'll talk about another Survivor season from this year, but this was a particularly egregious example of like how they got overly twisty when they didn't need to, and it was like to the season's detriment for sure. At number 5, I have Big Brother Reindeer Games. Right, Big Brother Reindeer Games. Yes, I have it this much higher over Big Brother 25. If I was watching the first half of Big Brother 25, I would probably say I was crazy here. And Reindeer Games wasn't the best thing ever, but it was excellent for what it was, and no one thought it had any right to be this good. They literally, when they pitched it as like an all-physical version of Big Brother, essentially, it's like, oh God, that's like, we literally just came off of season 25 where that was the worst thing about it, where it became all about the competitions and the other elements of the game didn't matter. But what we saw in Reindeer Games was equitable competitions. We saw competitions that anyone could win reasonably well, and not just because like you're this age or you're this build, you're just not immediately gonna have to sit out the competition. Everybody had a fair shake at most of the competitions for the most part, and I have no problems with almost any of the competitions. The format was fun. It was very like challenge-esque in terms of you send people down to like an elimination basically. And It was fun. Like the cast at first when I saw it, I was like not a big fan of the cast, but I really thought even some of the people I didn't like or wasn't as excited about really shined through in this season. Namely, like Josh Martinez, who I really didn't like in previous showings, like Big Brother. No, I guess I never saw him in the challenge, so I just didn't like him on Big Brother. I mean, he was like maybe one of the worst winners we've ever had. But he was super down to earth, very grounded. He's definitely matured, and he had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch him on this season. So I'm kind of glad we had that. Nicole Franzel was actually pretty great this season, and as the ultimate winner, what a shock out of nowhere winner. It was great to see people like Taylor back. Taylor being able to own it and just like have this evil queen, like confident edit in like the diary rooms, being able to take on that role that she couldn't, always like being the outcast early on in Big Brother 24. It was cool to see that as well, and it was cool to see different interactions, see people like Daniel Reyes come back, which we never thought we would. Obviously we wanted to see her in a proper season. This maybe wasn't her show to win, but there were some really great moments in the season. It was nice and short. It was very cheesy and campy, but I kind of liked it for that, like the holiday, overly holiday cheer nature of it. There was one episode in particular where they had to do that challenge on the wheel. It was super tense. I loved it, the way it built up, where like you had to keep passing the buck forward with more of a disadvantage. There's some interesting things they did with the challenges here, which literally could save the main Big Brother season, if they carry over some of these challenges and make an effort like they did to make some unique challenges and also equitable challenges. Like, we've just been rehashing the same challenges on Big Brother. They're also not equitable, like too overly physical. That puts certain people out of the running. So the people who did the challenges here was amazing. It seemed like they had a lot of love put into them, and I would love to see that translated into our main Big Brother, and that could be just what we need. At number 4, I got Squid Game: The Challenge. It's interesting they call it The Challenge, like literally in there. Like, that's a different show. Squid Game: The Challenge. It's interesting. I mean, I've heard it wasn't received the best. From a quick look, at first I definitely heard early on about the conditions, like people were freezing out there, whatever it may be. Maybe so. I'm not going to weigh that into the product we got, because we obviously didn't get any of that. The product we got was a lot of fun, very engaging for me. My family and I were hooked. We had to like go episode to episode and keep up with it. But another criticism I had also heard just looking it up before this was that it kind of misses the whole point of the original series, which is like almost like showing the evils of capitalism and like the corporate greed and like people, like evil rich people watching people do this for sport essentially, and how immoral that is, and kind of the class divide and things like that. And it kind of is like in the antithesis to that. And like, yeah, it's true. It doesn't really make any sense to just kind of take it, what the whole commentary that the original Squid Game series was about, and kind of throw that out the window and be like, no, we're just going to do a straight up competition based on very, very similar challenges and a similar concept. But look, we're not killing people. These people aren't actually dying like in the original show. Like, yes, maybe it misses the point a little bit, but as a show in a vacuum, I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's very unique in the reality competition world. 456 contestants is crazy, but competing for $4.56 million is also crazy. And I love the intensity that brings, that you don't get in other reality competition shows. You simply don't, like, but at the same time having like people getting relationships that they kind of valued more than doing what it took for the money was interesting as well. You still had that element that you come to expect from reality shows. Ultimately, the different challenges were cool. My biggest criticism would be some of the challenges and how they came down to not being as satisfying as they could have been, and having less control in the players' hands at certain points. And ultimately, The final challenge with the final two players was super disappointing. I've heard a couple of people talk about this, and I have to agree. It was like, wow, it all comes down to this. This is what we've all been building up to. Rock, paper, scissors. A random draw. We saw that Mai had a strategy to it, and there is a certain extent, strategy that you can implement into rock, paper, scissors, believe it or not. I had gotten done this whole rabbit hole back in the day, like looking up. There was this apparently for a very brief time a professional like rock paper scissors league competition tournament series, whatever you want to call it, and there would be like a certain people like doing consistently well. So it actually was like, whoa, it's not just all random. But when you take into this context, when they're not people like, it's just, it basically comes down to random chance. Like if the other person's not in this super third level state of mind 4D chess view, then it's like, okay, you can't predict what they're gonna do. They're gonna do random for the most part. It's like maybe Mai did outplay him, but we at the end of the day, it was a random chance on the keys anyway. So it was just like whether you get the right key at any given moment, you're gonna get $4.5 million, and the other person will get nothing. Crazy. But it is what it is. Mai, though, as the winner, super satisfying. Loved it. I loved Mai. I loved what she was serving us. Beautiful, beautiful television. She knew the assignment. She understood the assignment, and she did it every turn. We actually saw her doing things strategically well. Both her and I forget what the other guy's name. Phil, was that his name? Who was the runner-up? He was excellent in the end there with his like Phoenix Wright moments. Like they both managed to accurately get out of that box round where you had to place the box on the desk. That was crazy. By the skin of their teeth, they got there. So very happy with the winner. And as much as like there's a 456 person cast, to be satisfied with the winner is pretty impressive. It was also interesting seeing a show edited with that many people in mind. Is very unique, and you could see they might not have done it perfectly the whole time. There were times where it's like, okay, we've lost every person we've been introduced to. Now we got to bring in a whole new cast. Basically, like these people we haven't met. Meanwhile, we're like 200 people in, and we still haven't met these people, and they kind of have to like cycle them in. And it was hard to like, because you can't. If people were too obviously like present early on, it seemed like okay, they're probably not gonna last because you're gonna make way for these other people. So it was a weird balance they had to try to strike, and at certain points they did well, and at certain points there were parts of the season where I'm kind of like, okay, we kind of just lost some of our biggest people, and now we're left with like, I gotta get used to new people again. It's tough, but I appreciate it for being something very unique and new in the reality competition world, and I was thoroughly engaged throughout. Absolutely. And number 3 of The Amazing Race 35. Now this one I don't have too much to say about. It just is good, solid, Amazing Race. I thought it was an excellent season throughout. Did a lot of the great things I've come to love and expect from Amazing Race. I don't like super strategic elements they try to inject in certain Amazing Race seasons where it's like we're going to do they did one of those things here where it's like a vote to give a U-turn. I don't really like that because, I come for Amazing Race for a certain thing. You go to Big Brother Survivor for the social and strategy elements. I come to Amazing Race for the journey, the epic adventure of it all, to see people be able to just perform and get it done. Like, this is the one competition where you want to see people to just be able to do it on their own merits, just get stuff done, because they've always been historically very equitable competitions. So we're seeing like 2 women do well. We saw a father and daughter do well this season. 2 guys obviously do well. It's like we've seen every iteration of every combination of people do well pretty much. And so there's some beauty in that, seeing them do these random tasks, and I love the cultural elements incorporated. There's no show like it still. Amazing Race may be like the bottom rung of the trifecta in some ways, the CBS trifecta, but it's still very special to me, and I really think they hit a lot of solid things in the season. I like no non-elimination legs. I like having the airports back for that little bit of drama. And the finale scramble as a scramble was really nice. Actually, I thought that was really a really good decision, because finales in Amazing Race tend to be pretty boring. Like someone gets off to a lead early on and that's pretty much it, or someone falls behind early on and that's pretty much it. This one had a little more drama to it, where the scramble added some intensity to it. So a really solid season and a lot of fun. At number 2, I have Survivor 45. Survivor 45 is way above Survivor 44, and honestly, the whole new era for me so far. It's easily the best. I love the comparisons between this season and Gabon for like the chaotic nature of it. I love Gabon personally. One of my favorites. Top 5 Survivor season for me, maybe, actually. Kind of crazy, I know, but love that season. And Survivor 45 was given a lot of that energy, and it was excellent. It was like the new era parts of it. There's still work to be done. We don't need to be doing the split ups like at the merge. We don't need to do mergatory and then do a split tribal council and have all these artificial elements in the game where it's like people love the merge vote and we're pushing it, and then we're doing these little 3-way amulets and stuff like that. I don't like any of those elements, the new era elements. So it's a miracle that it worked out as well as it did and provided such an entertaining season in spite of that. But I really feel like the cast did well at making an amazingly entertaining season in spite of the twists of the new era. I thought Dee was a fantastic winner. I thought she was really solid, the best winner of the new era. The fact that even in the finale we had a final 5 vote that was crazy, chaotic. We've never seen anything like it, and that was in the top 5. Wild. I love the pettiness some of the cast had, like the Bruce stuff, the like Katura being just annoyed with Bruce the whole season. I loved like Bruce not playing his idol was a great moment. Caleb getting the shot in the dark was a great moment, even though he did go out next time, and I think the shot in the dark should be retired. Obviously, there's some awesome blind sides in here. The Drew blind side, the Kelly blind side. What the hell, guys? So much good stuff here, and the whole drama between like Austin's decisions to like tell Dee about Julie, and then Dee tells Julie, and then Julie could have potentially voted Austin out with his own idol, and then the reverse happening where then Dee doesn't tell Austin about Drew, and it's beautiful television how it all unfolds, and I was so into the season. I loved it. I really did. In terms of new era, you can't get much better, and it's one of the better seasons even outside of the new era in quite a while. I think I do tend to agree. It's maybe the best season since David versus Goliath, straight up. In terms of the newbie seasons, at least. Winners at War was a lot of fun. I loved Winners at War for the outstanding cast, but of course, the format was not thought through well enough. But yes, Survivor 45, at least the best of the new era, but could be an all-timer. Like, honestly, really great season. And for number 1, I have the Traitors, season 1. I instantly fell in love with the show. I mean, I've always loved Mafia. I've never really played it myself to a full extent. I've dabbled in games like Among Us. I played a good amount of Among Us. I mean, I love these social deceptive games, and Mafia is an all-time game that you can mold and is a timeless game always. And that's essentially what the Traitors is. It's a more elaborate, romanticized game of Mafia. And to see Cerie Fields at the center of it all, and to see her finally take home a W. I mean, outside of Snake in the Grass, little treat, but take home a significant W. That was great. That was made it so worth it for me. And it was interesting because we bookended our year with Cerie on almost bookended, honestly, with how late Big Brother went. But we bookended Cerie and the Traitors in January, and then Big Brother later on. And now I'm bookending my ranking here with Big Brother at number 8, the Traitors at number one stood the test of time. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. I'm not going to forget the events of the Traitors. It was such a special, really engaging season for me. I was like, love seeing the worlds collide, like reality worlds together, but just loved seeing Suri put on a masterclass, and it's one of my all-time favorites in terms of reality competition series now. And we're in the middle of season 2 right now as I'm recording this, so I'm really enjoying that as well, and I'm excited for the future because like the cast seem to just be getting better and better. I don't know how you can go wrong with it. Like this is a format you could use over and over again. You could bring people back, you could bring new people, but it'll always bring something new each time. I would love to see more seasons of this and see where it goes. I know they also have like the UK version. They have other versions, multiple different international versions of the Traitors that I would like to check out as well, because of course there's no reason it wouldn't be just as entertaining, and I've heard good things, and I think they are available on Paramount Plus, at least some of them. So I'm definitely going to check them out at some point. Once I'm out of Traitors to watch this season, then I'll probably dip into that. But this was an excellent first U.S. season. Having the half reality was not maybe a great idea, because the people who had no experience in this field really had no idea what they were doing. Suri was running circles around these people, but she was also running circles around people that should have known better. She was literally on the snake in the grass with Rachel and Stephanie, and somehow got away with it. I don't know how. I think the biggest problem the Traitors is going to run into is the whole meta of it all when picking the Traitors, because they pick the Traitors. It's not like a random draw. So when picking the Traitors, like we even saw in the first season that people talking about, well, there needs to be another reality woman. I'm thinking, just based on like pure producer knowledge, where do you think they would be coming from? And so Suri was an easy pick to be a traitor. And if I was on that cast, I'm sorry to say, it would have been very hard for me as a big Suri fan, but I would have known instantly that she was the traitor, because having followed Snake in the Grass, a little tiny show she was on one episode on, but she had said in like the exit press and stuff that she would have loved to be the Snake, which is the traitor of that show. She would have loved it, and she would have killed it, is what she said. And then she got that exact opportunity here. I would have known instantly. There's no way. When I started watching the first episode, there's no way that Suri's not a traitor. And lo and behold, she was a traitor. So that's the only thing I don't like, because now we've had like another more obvious pick in Dan this season, who is also like, okay, a clear cutthroat type player they're gonna want as a traitor. It's almost to the point where, in an ideal world, it would be nice if they could go into the game and be like, it'll actually be a random draw and anybody could be a traitor in any given season. So you can't try to do the meta game of like they're gonna have one man. We already got one man, so we need to get at least another woman. We already have one from this show. Maybe there's one from this show. Like, I don't like that aspect of it. But ultimately, they're never going to do it that way, unfortunately, because as producers, they don't want to have it up to chance and then end up with like people like Bergie and Ryan Lochte as like the only traitors. And then it's like, okay, well, we instantly have no shot. But, I also don't like the recruiting stuff, too, because it's kind of annoying. It's already a very uphill battle for the faithfuls. And to have such a slim chance of winning, like your only chance of winning really is to be recruited, almost to a certain extent. It's got to be very rare for faithful to win. I don't know how often it's happened in international seasons. I'll have to see when I watch. But if they just keep repopulating the traitors, it's like, what are we doing here? Is it even advantageous for us to vote out traitors? It's almost going to become a bigger meta of the game to like identify the traitors but not want to get them out and want to be recruited. It's like, it's tough, but there's definitely ways they can change it. At least they changed the challenges a little bit to have the shield aspect, but the challenges definitely need some work done if they want to make it better. That was the biggest detriment of season 1, which is what I was supposed to be talking about. Season 1, probably the biggest downside of the season are the challenges. They are basically points of the episode where you can kind of tune out. The challenges don't mean anything. It's not like Snake in the Grass where it's like you can look for people trying to mess up the challenge or whatever, because the traitors have just as much incentive as the faithful to get money added to the pot, and add on the fact that the money doesn't matter. At the end, the last challenge they do, you just make up all the money that you missed out on in previous challenges to bring it up to 250,000. So that's lame. All the challenges literally mean nothing. I'm sure they'll do the same this season. But not only that, I think it's just kind of lame to have people work, like you're already signing up for a competition to get $250,000, but then it's like, okay, now you have to earn the $250,000 throughout the season. I was always spitballing, maybe you could do the $250,000 as a guarantee prize, but throughout the season, you have a chance to add to that $250,000. So then maybe it will matter, like if you're not as good as competitions or something. That could be a reason to vote someone out, kill someone, banish them, whatever. Because maybe you could get it up to $500,000 if you do well enough in the challenges. Maybe have some actual stakes. You could actually lose a challenge and lose out on that money. We need that. We need that because we're gonna pretend. Everybody's pretending that it means something, celebrating that we got more prize money. Like I don't like that. And it's a big time sink. I really wouldn't just focus on the social. If I could have a competition, if I could have a season of the Traitors with no competitions, I would be happy with that. But ultimately, an all-timer. I'm looking forward to every new season. I'll be there day one every time. Also glad that they didn't just throw all the episodes up like the first season. With this new one, they're doing it weekly. Love that. That was also something I didn't like about the first season because I did not want to get anything spoiled. So you couldn't really be a part of the discourse online unless you watched the entire season. So I didn't like that. But there you have it. Those are my 8 reality competition series from 2023. In order, ranked, I will say there are 2 honorable mentions of shows that I didn't get to watch. House of Villains was a really unique one that I watched 2 or 3 episodes of, but literally I tried everything to try to get to watch it before this ranking, and it was just having trouble finding ways to watch it. Like when I would go to like e.com, they were giving me weird issues. There was no consistent place to find it, but hopefully I can actually finish that out so I can get a full understanding of that season as well. But also the Challenge USA Season 2. I didn't watch this one. I've heard it was really good, actually. And I'm interested, though I do know the outcome already. The first Challenge USA season kind of left a sour taste in my mouth at the end. How everything resolved, and it was like hearing the production end of it was not good whatsoever. But I wouldn't say that's the reason I didn't watch it. Just ultimately, like I missed an episode. I was like, I'll get around to it, and I just didn't get around to it. So it is what it is. I'll try to catch up at some point this year as well. Let me know your thoughts on any of these shows. Please do sound off in the comments, and I'd love to respond to them in some way. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. Hit the notification bell if you want to get notified whenever we upload a new video. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you go check out our top 10 of 2023 video, which had everything not reality TV in it. All right, and until next time.